at a point where you're either going to go or you're not.
Yeah.
How did you ultimately come bach to this point where you're playing now with the first team?
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of talk with my parents, a lot of talk with my coaches, and also like a lot of prayer too. Just being in a spot where you're kind of like, all right, am I gonna play ever again, or is it not? So you're kind of faced on the barrel of that question, and it's a lot of talking with my parents, and honestly, it was a lot of trust in the trainers downstairs, like Carell, talking with Matt and Brian a lot, and just trusting the process, knowing that I trust these people and they're gonna do what's best for me as a player and a human. So just kind of going along with their plan. Sometimes they got a plan and it doesn't exactly go the way you want it, so you kind of gotta roll with the punches and eventually you work. If you work hard enough, you get back to it. I'm just grateful to be back. Honestly, it's a great feeling. It's a long time coming, so I'm excited.
We talked with Coach Haynes in last fall camp, and he said, oh, Max is going to be back fairly soon. Was there a setback that happened in the fall? Or what was the timeline there?
There was a little setback. I had a procedure, and it was taking a lot longer to get back to a place where I feel like I can be competitive out on the field. I won't be out there limping around and stuff. So, yeah, it was a little setback.
If you don't mind me asking, what did you go through last year? What was the injury?
So it really started Minnesota 2022. I what's it called? I tore something in my ankle. I forgot what it was. But I had to have a surgery for that, and then that wasn't really working out, so I had to scope it the following year because I tried to play Oklahoma State. I couldn't really. Had the surgery, then I got a scope in the summertime, and that was kind of what took the longest.
Summer 2023.
Correct. Yeah, trying to get the range of motion back just took forever.
I was gonna say, what's that like when because I'm sure you think you're going into surgery, and once it's done, I'll be fine and ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
What's it like when you find out that no, it's not fine?
Yeah, it's kind of like a gradual, because you said it right. Like you have the surgery, oh, it's a fix. Surgery's a fix. And you're downstairs rehabbing, kind of testing it out, and it's kind of taking 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then at some point you kind of ask all right, is this gonna get better? What's the next step? And then in my case, I had to go back in, scope it out, get that range of motion back, and it just took a while, but it's really just patience and trusting them. They're not gonna do anything that sets me back and catches me. So
last season you weren't able to play, right? I mean, what could you take from a year that you weren't able to be out on the field? What did you learn? What were you able to gain?
Yeah, as long as playbook wise, new coaches came in, so I honestly got a good chance of sitting down and kind of seeing the big picture of the defense and learning the nickel, safety, corner spot kind of in all those different areas. And, I think of it like what's limiting my ability to play. At that moment, it was physical, so I don't want to lack on the mental or the mindfulness part. So I was, in the playbook as much as possible, in all the meetings, watching film and all that stuff. So, and honestly, it was beyond that on a personal level. It was kind of just a different hunger. When you have the game taken away from you, it sucks. You're watching your dreams kind of, fade away. You're on the field watching it, knowing I can't play. So just kind of give you that extra chip on your shoulder when you get back out there. Just to not to be corny or whatever, or cliche, but take every snap for granted. You never know when it's gonna end. So
last year there were a couple of guys that weren't able to play the whole year, right? And ultimately Ches goes down with an injury, and he said, "Hey, I'm fortunate enough to be in the coach's box at different times, but how helpful was it to have multiple dudes kind of in the same spot?"
Yeah, there's a kind of a bond that kind of happens, it helps, especially rehab wise, you rehab for a year plus, you get kind of repetitive. You only do so much, so having some sort of competition, especially if it's the same kind of ankle or foot, nah, I'm gonna get back faster than you. I want to do this exercise better than you can, and it just makes it's on the same on the football field, just competing with each other. It kind of eventually makes you better, and now luckily we'll both be able to play. So yeah, that does help.
So when did you hit the field, the practice field or whatever, and realize it's fixed? I can actually do whatever I can do?
It must have been honestly when we came back. So we went to Tampa for the bowl game, and I was kind of limited. I was doing a little bit of jogging, not really practicing that much. And then over break, I kind of let it relax, let my body heal as much as I can. And I came back, and we just, hopped back on the trajectory I was before the bowl game. And then honestly just got better and better, and I could do more and more, and I've honestly looked back since.
So winter conditioning when you got back?
Yeah. I was pretty much 100%. Yeah, I was pretty much 100% coming in the winter conditioning.
What was that like?
It felt great. Yeah, it was honestly a huge breakthrough. Just knowing, because it sucks, right? Testing it out, you know, you're testing it out, and like you kind of feel like, all right, I can kind of do this, but you don't feel like yourself. And it sucks because as an athlete, you want to be able to not think about nothing, just go out there and play. So kind of to get back to that 100% is a great feeling.
I'm not looking at what you're actually doing here in the spring with this nickel role, and you mentioned earlier, like you learned the big picture. You played a lot of positions here in your time. Like, what do you see about the nickel role and what they want from it that fits your skill set?
Yeah, honestly, Coach Fresco does a good job of mixing up our calls, and so it kind of plays to the strengths of our back end. I honestly think we're fast, like we're a fast unit on the back end. So being able to play with good vision and a little bit of freedom to kind of play what you see in front of you, right? So I have a decent ability to, you know, I see a play, I trigger on it fast, or you know, to be able to have a little bit of freedom in that kind of sense. So,
Is an example of that pick that you had last week?
I mean,
it seemed like you slid under maybe where you weren't quite supposed to be, but made the play.
Yeah, I think that's coaching. You know, knowing what you're getting from the offense. And Coach Grinch and Coach Haynes talked about a good job about, you know, going through a progression during the play. And so once you get through your progression, you may got to take a step here, drop here, and once you get to that spot, it's kind of up to you. You know, play what you see in front of you. And I think that's what one of the things about this defense.
And you could be matched up with either Pauling or Trench.
Absolutely.
And I'm just curious how much that helps you improve. And do you think you'll face much better guys in the slot than the receiver?
I don't know. I mean, they're two great receivers, honestly. Like you can't hide from either of them boys. So it definitely has they're probably one of the best slots that I've covered, practice-wise or in the game. So it's definitely, you know, they make me better, I make them better type of situation.
We've seen, you know, sets where we've had the big nickel, Austin or Owen or one of the safeties, but then we've also seen you play a lot. Is there maybe a plan where you might have the big nickel in certain situations, and then obviously on passing downs you might have a guy like you with more fluid hips and things like that?
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe it depends on down and distance. You know, the calls we have versus when AB and I'm on the field aren't really too much different. It's just kind of maybe in the coach's mindset, all right, maybe this is a 3rd and short, 4th and short. They're in 11, so we got to go nickel. Maybe we want to get a little bit bigger bodies out there, but it's not a conscious decision, not really.
You've mainly played in the nickel during your time here. Maybe one of the main difficulties, you know, given the amount of field or amount of distance you also have to cover while also with the run fits, what are kind of the difficulties of the position that you've kind of had to learn?
Honestly, it all comes down to eyes. You know, you have so many different keys during a certain amount of down. Like, all right, I'm reading the quarterback, I'm reading him. Based on what he does, I get my eyes to a different position. So just having good eye discipline kind of really helps you slow everything down. Because when you first get out there, when I first started playing, everything's fast. You know, you're like you said, you're playing man on a dude who runs like a 4.3 and 6 yard, 5 yards off, and you got all this field to cover. So just knowing where your help is, knowing when you can break on the ball or get to a certain spot through your progression kind of slows the game down. That's what it helps.
Just right ankle?
Yep, correct.
One more. Based on, you know, you and Nazir, you know, you each struggled with your own injuries. Rico's back, and you got RJ now. Just, you know, looking at the bigger picture, what does this cornerback room have that you guys didn't have last year?
Honestly, experience. We all have experience. You know, Rico being pretty much an All-American, and then Nazir being an All-American as well, and RJ coming with a lot of experience. And I've played a little bit too in the past. I think that will definitely help out a lot. And we're honestly, like when I look at it, we're probably the fastest and most athletic that we've been on the back end as far as just the 3 that you named before that you named. So that'll help too.
When you have those workouts, you know,